Every year, hundreds of thousands of your tax dollars are being spent to maintain empty buildings.
Long term, we would hope to have something happen on all the properties we own, so that we don't end up owning these properties forever.
In this month-long KOIN 6 investigation, we dug up the record showing just how much cash is being spent on this. Welcome, everyone, to KOIN 6 News at 6. I'm Kelly Day.
And I'm Jeff Gianola. We sent Chris Woodard out to find out what's being done to stop that flow of cash and make sure these properties don't just become money pits. Chris?
Yeah, and there's no question this is a lot of money here. Some of these out-of-use buildings come with a $500,000 price tag. We found at times governments are getting stuck with these buildings, but other times they're actually going out and buying them.
You know, it really is in the middle of it.
1,700 square feet here.
They're obviously old, historic properties.
A two-story for $2,000 a month here.
I'm not sure you can find a better spot.
4 cute, quaint homes, currently empty.
And there's some parking back behind them.
On the rental market and owned by, well, you.
We're talking about taxpayer money. We're talking about taxpayer owned properties.
We started our investigation with the State Department of Administrative Services and turned up 14 state-owned buildings that are empty. When we dug into public records to find out what they're costing you, we found a taxpayer bill of more than $550,000 a year to basically mothball them. Empty buildings you're paying for simply to make sure they don't fall apart.
Obviously, there are costs when you're holding on to property, you know, maintenance and security and things like that.
The most expensive of those state properties is the vacant north campus of the Oregon State Hospital. 50 acres, 6 buildings, ringing in at $527,952 a year to mothball. Property listings show the state is trying to sell the hospital property and some of the other vacant buildings they own, but some buildings they decide to hold on to.
When you talk about those decisions, do taxpayer dollars come into play?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. Because, you know, not only, again, we're talking about taxpayer dollars to maintain those facilities, but we're also talking about taxpayer dollars that are wrapped up in the properties themselves.
And you're paying for more than just state-owned empty buildings. Take a look at these Multnomah County properties we found. $43,317 a year to maintain empty houses, formerly part of a women's transition program. $31,417 spent every year on this vacant library. $6,063 on an empty office building. And the big one, $337,233 a year for the unused Wapato jail.
Would it be nice to have the money to spend elsewhere?
As always, it's not just the money, it's the services that we can provide. You know, if we could find another use for the Wapato jail, sure, that money would be good to use for direct services to people in need, which is the county's mission.
At the county, they say they try to get rid of these vacant buildings as quickly as possible.
It's more important to find other uses for it. If there's a nonprofit out there, or if there's a business or a company interested in buying it, that gets it back on the tax rolls.
Taxpayers are also footing the bill for several empty buildings owned by the city of Portland. Our public records request revealed the Portland Development Commission alone is shelling out $142,556 a year to preserve 7 empty buildings, some of which are historic icons.
We think that the benefits far outweigh the costs that we're currently. We do recognize that the longer we sit on them, the more expense we're going to incur, and those expenses are paid for by taxpayer dollars. So we've become a lot more conservative.
And this is just a snapshot. The state, 1 county, and 1 city shelling out more than $1.1 million on empty buildings.
Now, these public landowners tell us they recognize it would be a lot better to have revenue from the real estate by selling it or by renting it out, which they already try to do in some cases. But at some points, they admit they're also holding on to properties because they may be able to use them down the road. Multnomah County mentioned to us that that women's center in the story may not be in use now, but if some kind of a grant came through, the county could restart the program and then use those houses again. If they sold the building now, then of course they'd be looking to buy it back again later. Back to you.
Now, Chris, the question is, you looked at some of these buildings, but a lot of the state agencies are holding vacant property as well?
They are, and in some cases we're spending several thousand tax dollars there as well. Now there's a lot of reasons we're spending money on those, whether it's a highway right-of-way or something that's just an empty field. There's money that needs to be spent to do things like mow the lawn just to make sure this property doesn't become an eyesore.
Thank you, Chris. And our KOIN investigators dedicated to exposing how your taxpayer money is being spent. So if you have a story idea, submit it on our website, KOIN.com. Just click on the Report It tab.